the absolute state of this woke entitlement? Well, pro-Palestine protesters irreparably damaged a portrait of the former Prime Minister Lord Balfour. They spray-painted and slashed the painting. That hung in the University of Cambridge's Trinity College. The incident sparked widespread outrage, with former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick slamming the perpetrators. He said this vandal should be in a cell facing prison. When these acts go unpunished, more are emboldened. And instead of regret from Trinity College, how about condemning it? Our institutions need to stop kowtowing to those who hate our country. Well, that was, of course, the views of Robert Jenrick there. Now, Lord Balfour was the UK's Prime Minister from 1902 to 1905 and the chief architect of the Balfour Declaration, which gave British backing to the creation of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. I'm very grateful to be joined now by Lord Balfour's great-great-nephew, the Earl of Balfour. Look, thank you very, very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. Now, when you see acts of essentially criminal damage, really, taking place to a portrait of your great-great-uncle, what do you feel about that? What should be done about it? What do you think causes it?
Well, Patrick, I mean, clearly emotions are running very high at the moment, you know, over Gaza. I don't understand all the protests. I'm puzzled that there are no protests saying release the hostages and have a ceasefire. The hostages are never mentioned. And I think that the problem that I identify is particularly that perpetrator of the vandalism. She or he was quoted as saying that this was because Arthur Balfour had stolen Palestine, the Holy Land, if you like, which he had no right to do, which, of course, is complete rubbish. And I'd really like to focus on the fact that I feel so many of these protesters are hearing something from somewhere which they're just not educated in the matter. And it's quite interesting, when I've been travelling the world in business, everywhere almost I go in the world, people talk to me about the Balfour Declaration and the great emancipation that it meant for the Jews and the solution to a major refugee problem exacerbated by the Holocaust. And now people are talking in this way as though we stole, the British stole Palestine. And I'm just very struck by, I just think there's a huge ignorance. And in the UK, there's enormous ignorance about the Balfour Declaration and what was behind it. I mean, it's extraordinary, Patrick, today, that the parallels with that era are extraordinary. It was an immigration problem. You had the pogroms and the shtetls being cleared out in Russia and Belarus. I think my historians will shoot me down. But I think I'm right in saying that in 1890, there were estimated to be 60,000 Jews in Britain. By 1905, there were 160,000. And remember, these people who came over looking very strange, speaking only Yiddish, arriving on our shores. And by the time of the Great War, it was 300,000. So you had this thing, and then there was the whole idea, send them to Uganda. For Uganda, read Rwanda.
Right.
So that all met with opposition and things. It is education.
Sure. Education. Can I ask you, no arrests have been made for that individual there who took a Stanley knife to that portrait? I find that odd.
Well,
film, you know?
Well, I sort of have done a bit of rootling around on this, and I gather that they were very clever and shot into the place and did this very quickly, as you can see. And even the accomplice who took the video pretended that they were just somebody else who was a bystander. And I think, you know, as usual, probably hooded, wearing hoodies, and nobody has any idea who they were. And because they can post the video on social media anonymously, you know, this again gives everybody cover. But I think that, you know, I hope that what they've done has backfired, because, you know, whatever you feel about things, there is no excuse to go around vandalising, you know, wonderful pictures and things.
Yeah, and the university itself didn't exactly come out all guns blazing condemning this action, did they?
No, that was really my, you know, I wrote a letter to one of the papers and I said I was almost more shocked by Cambridge's reaction, supine reaction, I think I called it. You know, and it was the we have help available for anybody who's been distressed by this in the college. I mean, hello, what are they saying? Let's get PLOD after these guys.
Yeah.
We'll track them down. But I mean, that's just symptomatic of so much that's going on in society here today. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, my children, my family, worry greatly about a lot of this. And they said, Dad, you know, are you sure you're wise to go on and be interviewed this evening? Because aren't you worried somebody may come after you? Well, I mean, what sort of society are we living in where, you know, free speech is fine for some people, but not for others, or explaining something, or somebody will say, I'm doing fake speech and fake history about Arthur Balfour. You know, we've got to fight this. We've got to fight
Why do you
this.
think it's so important to fight it?
Well, because otherwise we're just going to be overrun by those who are on a one-track mind and want to preach destruction to everybody else around them apart from their own sect. I mean, I was very struck by, I don't know if you've read the book, by The Go-Between, by Osman Yusufzada.
OK, no.
It's about the...
I know what I'm doing when I get home, but yeah, go on.
it's fascinating. It's about the upbringing in either West Yorkshire or East Lancashire of a Pakistani boy, a boy of Pakistani origin, anyway, and what went on in his education and how the education was very, very single-minded in terms of the Quran and what individual mullahs told them. And you didn't get the impression that was anything in his education that was of a wider education about the UK and other values and everything.
So people taking a very narrow view, an uneducated view, that then leads them towards some form of militant or extreme action. I think that's something that many people, I know I certainly do, loads of our viewers and listeners do, feel very, very concerned about. And look, I'm just going to read something out here from the Master of Trinity College's Dame Sally Davies, who said, right. I'm shocked by the attack on our college, on our painting. I condemn this act of vandalism. We are cooperating with the police to bring the perpetrators to justice. Well, obviously, as we just said, there's been very little action on that, hasn't there? The spokesperson for Cambridge Police said, we received an online report of criminal damage to a painting at Trinity College in Cambridge. Officers attended the scene to secure evidence and progress the investigation. Yeah, here we go. No arrests have been made at this stage. Now, I'm quite keen to get your view on this, because it's kind of same but different, this really. So elsewhere, a group of Bristol Uni students have barricaded themselves into a university building. They were insisting that they won't leave until the institution ends its complicity in genocide. Luckily for us, they have been providing daily updates of their escapades on social media. Let's see how they're getting on today.
Today marks 2 weeks since the start of our occupation. It's day 14 of us camping out. Since the start of our occupation, about 1,552 Palestinians have been killed, which is about half the number of engineering undergrads at this university.
Free Palestine!
Do you worry a bit about the younger generation when you see stuff like that, do you think?
I was in Paris for the 1968 riots, which were led by the students. And, you know, these things flare up every now and then, and there's what the French call a cause célèbre that people gravitate to. And it usually goes away when people have the realities of life come upon them. I'm slightly puzzled by this in the sense that I'm not quite sure what power they have, over Bristol University. I don't know whether they're talking about their investments in arms companies. I don't know. You know, it's. I think it's very much that age when you do have, you know, very strong beliefs, or as part of a group think. And you daren't not be part of it.
Can I ask you a question? We're going to be very quick with this, I'm afraid. What would your great-great-uncle make of what he's seeing now today, do you think, on the streets, and people slashing the painting and all of that?
Well, I think he'd be absolutely amazed. I mean, I think that the reason I continue to be involved in this and get interviewed is that, you know, he was a great one, along with Lloyd George, about the three Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Mohammedanism and Judaism, coexisting in the Holy Land, which has been the Holy Land for all three of them for thousands of years. And he would be aghast. And remember the central tenet of the Balfour Declaration, you know, it being understood that there will be nothing prejudicial towards the rights of religious blah, 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 of whatever. And I think he'd be aghast. But equally, he would, the Holocaust would have completely shocked him, and he would never have guessed that a declaration over 700,000
Yeah.
people was now 12 million.
OK, thank you very, very much for your time this evening. Much appreciated. Thank you very much for coming into the studio as well. Fantastic, Sir Balfour. Thank you.